Welcome to Episode 7 of the Ashley Real Estate Podcast, where we provide vision and value to various areas of real estate to consumers. Take a moment and hit that like button and ring the bell to subscribe. On today's podcast, listing specialist Heidi Christie joins Ashley to talk about adding value to your home in a seller's market.
Hi, guys. Welcome to our 7th podcast for Ashley Lay Real Estate. Today, October 12th, I have with me Heidi Christie, specialist, and she just disappeared. There she is again.
Technical difficulties.
Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Today, we want to come and chat with you guys about how to sell your home quickly. We are seeing an unprecedented market right now where we have the lowest amount of homes that I've seen for sale in the 16 years that I've been in real estate. We were doing some statistics the other day, and it said it's on a 10-year downward trend, and we are it is just very difficult for buyers to find inventory. One of the things that we are doing is we have a very cool marketing program where we keep your home on the market live for 5 days, and we call that seasoning on the market. And our goal is to get you, after 5 days, to get you the most money, potentially a cash offer, and to be able to negotiate away as many of the considerations and concessions as we can. Now, the reason we're coming to you today is we want to talk to you about what do we do to get that home sold quickly and to get that potentially cash offer to drive the most people to your home, etc. And those are all done ahead of time by getting ready, right, Heidi?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have those things completed prior to going on the market, you're missing just valuable days on market where you could have an awesome first impression.
Yes. And we have a marketing director, Jeff. We all love Jeff. And Jeff puts together such a great package that we push to the public. That's called our social media launch on Wednesday. And at that point, we will be putting out a lot of internet ads on sites like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram to promote your property and the open house that's happening that weekend, your first weekend on the market. And we want to send people there in droves. And guess what, folks? People are looking at those photos to make a decision on coming to that open house or not, right, Heidi?
Yep, primarily. I mean, the National Association of Realtors stat says 97% of people start looking online first. So all they have to go off of is those pictures.
And you don't ever get a second chance to make a first impression.
No, yeah. You don't.
We hear so often, we walk in homes and people say, well, let's just push the price a little higher first. And I really don't want to do any work because I've heard it's a great market. And I just think that if I have to come down, I'll come down. But tell us why that's not the best train of thought, Heidi.
Well, Ashley, as you know, buyers make the worst contractors. So a lot of times buyers have no reference for, especially if they're a first-time home buyer, what it will actually cost them to maybe repaint a couple of bedrooms or replace that old carpet. And so what they're doing is if they're pre-approved for a certain amount and they go into your home and you've already priced it with that work in consideration, they're still going to mentally deduct from that price and then still try to get those repairs done.
Right. And our goal is truly to get that seller the very best offer possible. And if people go in and they start nitpicking and seeing those things, we're not going to accomplish that, right?
Right. I mean, instead of getting multiple buyers who might be bidding above because your home is move-in ready and there's nothing they'll have to do, now you might have buyers offering you lower offers, and that certainly doesn't encourage the climate that we'd like, considering the lack of inventory we're experiencing right now.
That's right. And I'd like to maybe go through, we've got a few lists that we've written up. And so maybe talk about each area of the home and what people can be doing. And hey, don't wait to call Heidi and I and Amy, our listing specialist, when you are ready to list, or when you are thinking about listing is what I'm trying to say, because this list we're going to go through, we can really help you fine tune it and make sure that you know what's going to bring you the most bang for your buck. Because we've walked in and people have maybe painted or done that really cool finish on the epoxy on their garage floor. And while it looks really cool, it might not help you get the most money. Kitchen and bathroom updates really are huge. Painting is huge. So we'll talk to you about that as we go through kind of each one. So the first thing I want to talk about is when you walk up to the house, when you drive up, it's all about curb appeal. And we, as from the buy side, may never get a phone call to show your home because the buyers may already be driving by it before they ever contact us and are not impressed by what they see. So tell us a little bit, Heidi, about what's important about that curb appeal.
Absolutely. So what I think we often make the mistake of as sellers is we think that buyers think like we do. And I think what we have to do is put ourselves back in the shoes of where we were at when we were first looking for a home and go, what feeling were we hoping for when we walked through that front door, when we drove up to the property? And what we're trying to do is get that same emotion to be, to rise up in buyers when they pull up to our property. So think of when you are just driving through a neighborhood. If you can think of that one house that always has the golf course lawn and the perfect manicured garden beds. Every time I drive in by one of those houses, I go, oh my gosh, I'd love to own that home. Like, I haven't even seen the inside and I'm already like, oh man, if this is what the outside looks like, I bet the inside is just as beautiful. I want to buy that house. And when I drive by a house and they've got, old paint cans and boxes and ladders and, the lawn hasn't been mowed in 3 weeks and there's, you can tell there was a flower bed there, but it's not been kept up and it's just overgrown with weeds. I think, I don't even want to go look in that house. And truth be told, Ashley, that house might be cuter on the inside than the other one, but I don't even want to go look at it.
You're right. And so many people just drive on by when they see that, right? I mean, and I love telling sellers, it's just the little things that go so far, like right now. So maybe your beds aren't all blooming because it's October, but it's October. So hang a cute Halloween flag or a cute fall, better yet, a fall flag. Put out pumpkins, put out hay bales, and put out things that signify fall and make everybody go, oh, I love this time of year. And when they drive up, your home is welcoming and it's got this cute little mat that's all about the season. And everybody just feels, when they walk up, they feel great. And then when they get to the front door, don't forget your front door. Always put fresh paint on your front door if it needs it, because that don't get a second chance to make a first impression. If your hardware is hard to work, if your keys are hard to turn, if the door, if it's rusty, it's loose. That's an impression that the home hasn't been taken care of, and you can't change that. I mean, it's literally their first impression, right?
Absolutely. And even things that I think we overlook as homeowners when you've lived in the home every day, sometimes, especially if it's like your front porch area. A lot of people, especially if you've got a garage or a carport, you don't come through the front door every day. So it'd be a great idea if you're thinking you might want to list your home in the next few months. Walk in like you're a buyer for the first time. Look at your shutters. Are they faded? Are they falling off? Do you have spots does your house need to be pressure washed? Does the sidewalk need to be pressure washed? Do you have weeds coming up through the cracks in your cement? Things like that, that would, I think sometimes if we put ourselves in the shoes of a buyer, we go, oh, like this could just use a little TLC. And that's not necessarily big stuff, Ashley. You could take a weekend and knock all of that out, but it makes such a big difference for that first impression.
It is. And, I think that literally the largest majority of our sellers, I don't know, 60, 70% might say, oh, that's not a big deal in this market. You just told us at the beginning of this podcast that the inventory is super low. But we're talking about the difference between if your house is listed at $200,000, selling it for, I don't know, $195,000, $198,000, or spending a weekend and taking care of that stuff, and then bam, $210,000 offer, $215,000 offer, $212,000 offer, and you're over list price by 5%, maybe 10. And that's what we're looking for. That's why all these things we're going to talk about here are so important. Even though there are a lot of little things, but all those little things add up to thousands of dollars, right?
Absolutely. I had a house in Kernersville a couple months ago, and it was beautiful on the outside and on the inside, and people felt like it was truly move-in ready. And we listed at the top of the market as far as what the comps had sold for, and they got $20,000 over that. And I think that would not have happened. I know that would not have happened if they hadn't, had everything on the outside and the inside just as pristine as it was.
Yeah. And, the leaves are falling right now. So hop on your mower, drive through your yard and kind of get rid of the leaves or blow them, whatever works best for you. Now's a good time to trim your plants, your bushes, get them all trimmed back under the windows, because I'll get back pictures, or Heidi will, for a listing, and something we might not notice while right at the house, but then we're looking at it from the eye of a buyer, and there's our photos, and there's the bushes covering up 2/3 of the windows, right? Or the trees. And you're like, oh.
That does happen. And at this time of year too, finally some of the spiders are starting to die. So some of those yucky cobwebs that are everywhere, go out with a broom, knock some of those down. That can make a big difference.
Yeah, those are not really cool decorations, even though it's almost Halloween. Let's get rid of the cobwebs. And I guess the last thing outside I'll mention is the deck. Don't forget your deck. You can refinish your deck in a weekend also. The very least, pressure wash it and get all the mildew off and make it look great.
That is a huge thing that we shouldn't overlook, because especially, y'all, we got to think about the climate with this yucky virus. A lot of people have been thinking about entertainment at home and what they can do at home, because maybe they're not comfortable going out. So more than ever, those outdoor spaces are valuable to people. So if you have a deck, make sure it's in top shape. If there's some yucky boards that need to be replaced, you might have a little bit of difficulty finding wood right now. But try to replace the rotten boards, things that might come up on an inspection. Just go ahead and take care of that ahead of time, and it can really make a big difference for the price you get on a home.
Yeah. And I think, even though I said it was the last thing, I thought of one more thing while you were talking. If they've got like a little fire pit or just a swing area in the backyard or a little seating area set up, don't forget those places and spruce them up. Like, go clean off your chairs, put down bright colored pillows, make it inviting. Back to what Heidi said, people are entertaining at home. When they walk up and they see that inviting space, they walk onto your front porch and you've got rocking chairs and you've got fresh pillows on them. It just makes you want to sit down and enjoy the fall weather and the fall decor you've got sitting out. It's inviting, and it's immediately, as Heidi said, that emotional attachment to the house, and you're starting off on the right foot versus them walking up and noticing all the things they have to fix.
Right. And think of this too, if you start the buyer off in a positive mindset, now we're setting the tone for their showing and viewing throughout the rest of the home. If they start in that negative space, it can be difficult to get them to switch back into a positive mindset. And the same is true vice versa.
Yeah, I've seen that happen over and over. You're showing a property and they've made up their mind before they walk in the front door, and you're like, it's a great house. This can be fixed. So we open the front door, and then what's the wrong impression, Heidi, when we open the front door?
Well, let's see. There's, you're just through your senses. We have what we can see, we have what we can smell, we have what we can hear. Those are the three things that we can really control as sellers when a buyer opens the front door, right? You can't really, unless you're sitting there giving them cookies, there's really not what you can control that sense. But what you can smell, see, not really touch so much, especially in COVID, and what you hear, those are the impressions that you have the control over as a seller.
It's, so many times I've unlocked the front door, we've walked in, and all you notice is their stuff. It's either the smell stuff. Let's talk about the stuff and decluttering first, right?
Yeah.
People don't, your stuff doesn't sell the house, does it, Heidi?
Not normally, I'll say not normally. There's been the rare time where somebody falls in love with the decorations, but that's not the norm. Normally we want the house to sell itself, because you don't want buyers to walk through at the final walkthrough and go, oh, I don't like it anymore now that all your stuff is gone.
Well, I think that it's funny because a lot of the, we sell all kinds of homes. And I identify with this one because it's the age that I am. So we get a lot of downsizers, and we've raised our children in those homes, and we've collected and accumulated a lot of things that hold value and meaning to us personally, but they don't hold value and meaning to the person looking to purchase that home. So back to having to look at that house through fresh eyes and maybe bring in the professional to tell you what should stay and what should go. Because then you've got the buyers that are Heidi's age that are coming through, and, the norm for that buyer is they like things streamlined and less stuff. And they like things to look very sparse. And my generation tends to have a lot of knickknacks sitting out and a lot of Southern living at home on the walls and ivy hanging and all of that. And you really need that fresh perspective of Heidi to tell you, where you should consider making some changes. And often that means bringing in the professional. We did a whole podcast on staging as well, right?
That's a great one to go listen to. So sometimes bringing in a professional stager is necessary. A lot of times it isn't. So my goal, of course, is to maximize your return on investment. So if I feel like that's going to be the way to get you the most return, I will refer you to a professional stager. However, there are a lot of little tricks of the trade that you can do. One, if you are already getting into the mindset of packing up personal photos, personal memorabilia, that type of stuff, before you put your home on the market, you as a seller are starting to emotionally detach yourself from the home, which is a bit of a grieving process. It's also necessary because you're going to be moving on, right? So, Ashley, you can speak to this more than I can because you downsized a few years ago, and that was an emotional process for you. But would you not agree that it was easier for you when you got an offer because you'd already done some of that work to emotionally detach prior to putting your home on the market?
That's so funny you say that, Heidi. My husband and I worked for, I think we started in the fall of 16, and we finally were ready for the market in the summer of 17. But that became, we literally, because we had lived there for 17 or 18 years, we had to make ourselves lists of things to do every day. Or it was so overwhelming. And I can promise you, some of you are listening to this and you're feeling that way. You're like, I would love to have less house to take care of, but I'm so overwhelmed by my stuff that I don't know where to start. So literally Kevin and I, because here I am a real estate agent, but yeah, we had to go into every, like tonight, we're going to attack the upstairs closet on the right, and we're going to work on it for an hour. And if it's not done tonight, tomorrow night, we're going to work on it for an hour. And that's literally how we got through our house. And it was so helpful, Heidi, back to your point, to have completely cleaned it out, to have packed away all the things that meant something to me to take to the next home, and to have gotten rid of, it was just like a weight being lifted off my shoulders to be able to pull up. We ordered a dumpster. It was about $250 or $80, something to that effect, and let a lot of stuff just go through the window into the dumpster. And then we had a whole pile of the things that we were giving away to Goodwill and what have you. So it is harder. I would assume, I didn't do it, if you still have all those things that make you walk in the house and know your home, those pictures, those knickknacks, those just the things that remind you of all the years you spent with your family in this home. That's the part you need to go ahead and pack away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, and I think to the point of, from a selling perspective, because we're talking about emotions, because, we're human beings, right? We have to handle that aspect. But from the selling the real estate part, when a buyer comes through a home, our goal is that they can visualize themselves living in your home, that we can evoke that emotional connection with your home, so that they can picture themselves, enjoying Thanksgiving dinner in that dining room, so that we can help them, picture giving their kids, if they have them, baths in that hall bathroom, things like that, where if you walk in and you see all these personal photos, you almost feel like you're intruding, don't you, Ashley?
Yeah, you're in another family's space. And what we're all about is making it inviting, yet depersonalizing it, right? So that it's a blank canvas. And they walk in and they see the neutral gray paint on the wall and the nice furnishings, and then they picture their life beginning there, right? Or their life continuing there. Because life is a journey, and this is where their journey is. This is where their journey is going to continue, right?
Right.
And if it is completely personalized and it looks just like, you decided today to put your house on the market and didn't do anything differently, they do feel that sense of intrusion. You're intruding on someone's life, and I've actually seen people scurry through the house because they feel like, it looks, dinner's sitting there ready to be put out. We need to hurry and get out.
Yeah. And then you might miss that opportunity to form that connection. And as horrible as it sounds, that emotional connection is often what pulls buyers to make those really strong offers. It's
always,
we don't want to say, well, it's not your house, but it is kind of your house. And it's also the emotion that it evokes in other people. So, I know that's not exactly quantifiable, but we can guarantee you removing some of that personal stuff helps with that.
Yeah. So let's say we've removed all our personal items, and we've gotten rid of some of the old furniture that was worn out and tired, and we've thrown it in the dumpster and it's gone. And now it's kind of sparse in there. And we look around, and all of a sudden we look around and we realize, oh, wow, now you see every nick and crack and mark and, kids, what do you call it? Nerf guns. That was what my kids were famous for. Every time a Nerf gun's hit a wall and go, it's all over, and you notice it's a what?
Yep.
We need to call our painters, right?
Yep. Or call your friends and have a painting party if they're good painting. Because I will say, Ashley, a bad paint job is almost worse than just leaving it as.
It is.
Tape is, if you're going to paint, make sure you tape. So yeah, it's amazing to me. That is something that, I've personally sold over 200 homes now. And I will say that this was a horrible situation, but there was a time, Ashley, it was a year or two ago, where I was representing the seller, and they had just kind of like what we described, really cute taste and style and decor. Then the final walkthrough happened the morning of closing. And the buyers realized that the whole house needed to be repainted. There were some nicks in the floor that the furniture had, not hidden, but they weren't obvious. And the buyer walked because of that.
Remember that.
Morning of closing. So it's difficult to wrap your mind around the fact that somebody might walk away from an entire house and an entire property over paint.
It happens.
I mean, just think, Ashley, have you walked into a home or seen a home online and it's got the neon paint colors, and you just go, ooh, it's hard to notice anything else. It's hard to.
I actually, that's funny you say that. There was an acquaintance of mine that, didn't call us to sell her home, and I know it's still for sale. It was listed initially for sale by owner, and it's a beautiful home, but there are a lot of colors, and I really wanted to give her my advice, but she's not asked me for my advice. So, but it's so important. I mean, because you're a Carolina fan and you've got Carolina paint, or you're a State fan and you've got bright red paint, or, you're a Panthers fan and you've got the whole Panthers room. What if the buyer that loves your house walks in and absolutely despises one of those teams because they love a competing team, and it just puts a sour taste in their mouth, and they don't buy your house because of it? So that's another example. But the But there was a time in the last few years that red paint in a dining room was the thing. Yep. And I was just trying to think of some examples. And a lot of times people will paint their children's bedrooms purple or pink, right, or, orange and black for North Davidson here in this area. And you've got to consider that that's not for everybody. Everyone can't relate to those specific colors that meant something to you. So your very best bet is to neutralize, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be gray. I've heard so many people say, I just hate gray. I can't do it. You don't have to paint your whole house gray. Okay, I will say that. But just think too, when you're watching HGTV and you see those remodels, 75% of the time, most of what they do is paint. So that can just change the entire feel of a room. If you've got a small room and it's painted a really dark color, it's going to feel even smaller. If you've not got tall ceilings, sometimes doing that two-tone paint above and under that chair rail makes that room look even shorter. So thinking about your space and what you have to offer, you might need to neutralize, lighten up, be a little more accessible to everyone else and what they would like, so that you can get those multiple buyers. Because if you have a specialized home, you're going to be catering to a specialized buyer. And so the wider we can make that buyer pool for you, the more likely you are to get multiple offers in this market.
Right. And my advice to you, if you're sitting there listening to this and you're agreeing with what Heidi just said, and you're like, but I hate gray, just remember, you're not the buyer anymore. You're not the home. You still own the home, but you're not going to be living there. You are getting it ready for the next person. And even though you may really detest gray because it's boring, or beige because it's boring, and you like all your color, keep in mind that those are the specialty things about yourself. Those are your unique characteristics. And we have to hit a much wider buyer pool. And by neutralizing, even if you don't like it, remember, you can go in and you can go back in. And let's say you've put gray on the walls and you've got a dark gray couch. You can go in now and you can add pops of color. You can choose an accent color that you're going to throw Afghan or something over one of the chairs, and then put that same color as pillows in the couch. You can bring in your color, just don't do it on the walls.
Exactly. And there's, like you said, there's throw pillows. There's so many fun ways that you can make it fun. But when you move, that goes with you. And that's exactly the point, is that you want the things that remain to be accessible to as many buyers as possible.
Yeah. So back to what I said when we walk in the front door. This is the worst. This is so the worst.
I think I know where this is going.
You know where this is going. Okay, you guys, probably 80% of you that we're talking to are dog owners, right? Everybody loves their dogs right now. I think Heidi and I may be the only two people I know that don't own a dog.
That's just allergies. I love dogs. But
yes, I love dogs too. I just travel too much. So here's the thing. You become nose blind to the odors in your own home. You don't notice them. So there's two things that work here. If you're going to put your home on the market and you own an animal, first bring in a friend or bring us in and let us tell you if there is anything. If that you find out there is an odor, the number one place that traps those odors is your cloth furniture, because animals tend to lay on those, and then also your carpet. So you've got to do a very deep clean with your carpet. You need to do deep cleaning on your furniture that they use. And you need to clean your house, probably the best clean that you've done ever. And then you need to stay on it, on your floors, and everything for the time that you're on the market. And back to following all this advice, if you do follow all of these things we've talked about today and you price properly, you're really upping your chances of getting that offer and getting that contract in 5 days. Who wants to clean their house 27 times? Let's clean it the Tuesday before we hit the market live on Wednesday. Kind of stay out of it as much as possible for 5 days and have it under contract. And clean it again before the home inspection and the closing, and you're good. You're golden, right?
I will say I've had several sellers recently like book an Airbnb in Asheville or somewhere else, and then they just take the weekend and let the house be shown. They take their pet, they take their kids, and it makes it kind of fun. And in the cases that's happened here recently, they've come home to their house being under contract. So it's best to have it all done ahead of time and shorten that painful showing period than be like, oh, well, if somebody says something about it, we'll fix it later. Just think of all the inconvenience you're going to have with every showing. If it takes longer, you're looking instead of 5 days, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, where you kind of feel like your house isn't your own. You feel like you have to not really live in your home. Every time you leave in the morning, you make sure, your clothes are put away, your drawers are shut. It's a lot of stress.
It is. And for someone like, let's use my daughter, for example, she has a beautiful dog and 2 cats, and it's a long-haired dog and long-haired cats. So
Yep.
If her house, she lives in a neighborhood where, the homes are in the low 200s there. And it will likely, if she was going up for sale, it would likely sell in a weekend. But if she doesn't do all of that work ahead of time, she's fighting this losing battle every time they come in, and people notice the smell of the pets. They notice the house, especially when you have pets and they don't feel the smell is, even if you have cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, if you can still smell those pets, it's something up here in your psyche that you just go, no, can't. I've seen so many people walk out the front door and never walk through the house because of that pet odor. So you're just doing yourself such a favor if you do these things in advance. And we can't emphasize enough pricing correctly to set yourself up for the multiple offers and going under contract right away.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to note too, Ashley, that there might be things that your dogs have chewed up in your home that you maybe didn't care about. But back to that, if you're going to paint, if there's edges that the dogs have chewed, molding that's been torn up, it's going to be a really good idea for you to go ahead and have that replaced when you're repainting. Those are small details, but they indicate to a buyer how the whole of the home has been maintained. So if they see those chewed up moldings and damaged walls, they're not thinking, oh, there's just chewed molding and walls. They're thinking, what else hasn't been maintained in this home?
That's key. The place we always see it is from your back porch. Your pets are in the backyard and they've done this, and they've really done some damage to that molding at the back door. So always attack that and get that just handled before you go on the market. So
yeah.
And I guess the last thing we probably should just chat about a little bit more is the cleaning and how important that is, because especially in this age of COVID, it matters more than anything. And for people to feel that fresh, just feel that your home is clean and smell that your home is clean and see that your home is clean when they walk in the door. That is the final equation in making sure that your home is ready, right, Heidi?
Absolutely. Cleanliness more than ever is really important to people. And as a seller, it's hopefully important to you with the COVID climate. I mean, if we're asking buyers to wear masks and remove their shoes and the agent to wear gloves when they open doors, it's just as important for you as a seller to give that really tidy, clean impression to a buyer.
Right. Places that people tend to forget that I always notice, your light switches. People forget to clean those, and then they forget to do a cleaning on their moldings, where the dust has settled for years. I see that. Those are a couple things that jump out at me. What about you, Heidi?
I see a lot of that same kind of issue with the grout in between tile. If you've got old grout, You can get it steam cleaned. Sometimes it just needs to be redone. And you'd be amazed at how much more fresh your floors will look if your grout is supposed to be white and actually looks white. Like, whoa, that's like a whole new kitchen floor.
It does. It gives this impression of fresh, whether that means new or that means clean. It's just fresh. And when you pull back a shower curtain, oh, here's another we didn't mention, and you see mildew on the back side of that curtain, and then you see the brown in between the tiles, you want to run. So it's
you do.
You
also see open the oven door. So many buyers open the oven door. So just maybe do that self-clean cycle the week before you put your house on the market. It's not a bad idea.
Don't do it the day of. I've actually had people doing it the day you walk in the house, and then you just, that smell.
That smell is so bad. No. We don't want to make people's eyes burn when they walk through the front door. But yeah, exactly. I will say a couple other things that I've noticed. If you've painted your kitchen cabinets, especially if they're white, smudges around the handles, that really makes a big difference. Because oftentimes, I mean, would you agree with this, Ashley? Your kitchens and your bathrooms are the things that sell your home most of the time. So pay attention with even extra care in those rooms.
Yeah, if your mats are old and worn out in your bathroom floor, go get new ones. It's the little things. It's the little things that we get so used to and we forget to address. So yeah.
Well, fresh caulking too.
Do what?
Fresh caulking. You can that mildew look. It really can scare some buyers off. So they've got some great stuff where you can put it on and it kills all that mold and then just recaulk over it, and it looks like a new bathtub sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think we've probably talked all our listeners' ears off about what to do to get ready to sell their home. And the last thing that I want to hit on is some of them are probably sitting there because you and we hear this so often this time of year. I don't know what it is, but we hit October and we're leading into the 2 holiday months and everybody goes, yeah, I'm just going to wait till the spring to put my house on the market. So what do you have to say about that, Heidi?
I say it really depends, Ashley. It really depends. We talk a lot about supply and demand in economics, right? But a lot of times when we look at the real estate market, we don't ask that question. And that's a real shame because what comes into play, at least this year, is interest rates are at an all-time low. Inventory in most price points is between 1 and 2 months, which means a pretty severe seller's market. Some markets, some price points, there's not even a single house on the market. In certain school districts in the triad, you can't find anything under $200,000. So think of it this way. If you were a buyer and you had to buy and you wanted to take advantage of the awesome interest rates, and there's only 2 houses on the market versus you waiting until the spring to put your house on the market when you might have 20 or 30 houses to compete with. Ashley, which one do you think is going to be the situation where you as a seller are going to get the most amount of money?
Wow. I think that with less competition comes more, we're going to get a higher offer on our house.
Yeah. So right now, the stat that just came out was overall in the triad. This was running through September. Prices are up about 10% from last year. Okay. So inventory's down, prices are up. I mean, unless something starts to change pretty drastically, there's never been a better time to sell your home. COVID's made things different this year. So a spring market does not necessarily mean more money.
Right. And that's been interesting this year because it was like we had spring in the late summer. And then as we went into fall, it was like it was still our summer market. So right. October is going to be the largest number of closings for our team for the entire year so far. It could be that same way in November. I'm not seeing a slowing down. So I think it's absolutely the right time for most people to go on the market right now. And if you have concerns about finding the next property, there are some creative things we can help you with, like have your things all put in a pod and held and go stay in an extended stay for a few weeks and wait for that right property to hit. There are just different ways we can help you come up with a plan for that to help you with the next step. But I'd say definitely take advantage of this market, get the highest price that you can get. And people are saying, well, what about the election? We don't know what's going to happen after the election. I think we're in such a severe, as you put it, a severe seller's market. We're in such a drought of homes available for sale that I was reading, and it said that we would have to, it would have to be catastrophic for us to change to a buyer's market. So I believe it's going to continue to be an excellent market in which to sell in the coming months. So what are we missing, Heidi? Have we hit on all the points?
Ashley, I think that the overall point that we've been trying to make, which I hope has been clear, is sometimes the smallest things, the most kind of tedious it could feel like, but some of the smallest little details, the least expensive, can make the biggest impact. It doesn't necessarily look like putting new granite in your kitchen. It doesn't necessarily always look like, ripping out that old vanity. Sometimes it just looks like maybe painting the old vanity. And so we're here to help maximize that return on investment.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, your next step, pick up the phone, shoot us a text, give us a call. We're here for you. Don't wait until you've done all this list to call us. Call us when you're thinking about it. There's no obligation. We will just walk you through what you can be doing to get ready, and we'll help you make a plan. So we appreciate you joining us today for our podcast, and stay tuned for our next one that'll be out in another few weeks. And Heidi, thank you for being on here today as well. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ashley Lay Real Estate Podcast. If you or someone you know is interested in buying or selling real estate, contact our team at ashleylay.com.